The Gode Web 3.0 ecosystem contains 4 components. Self-sovereign identity, SSI, the idea that users should own and control their credentials and all of their data. The second is a high-speed decentralized cloud network. We need the data to be stored decentralized, and we need a way to mitigate between systems that are currently storing data and systems that will just take the data from a user storage location, process data securely, and then place it where it needs to be. The third piece is zero-knowledge proof protocol in a privacy-preserving manner, the idea that we can ask questions without exposing personally identifiable information. And the fourth part is the base decentralized computation protocol, which you will have a presentation on its own, so we'll just mention it in passing. Web 3.0 is a new ecosystem where you, the user, should own and control your data. And so in Web 1.0, we had static websites, and we were all consumers. In Web 2.0, which is the current atmosphere, it's what we do today, we are products without compensation. FANG, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, all of these Web 2.0 providers are collecting a lot of data and are selling that data. Web 3.0 is self-sovereign identity. We move the control of digital identity from the third party, FANG, to the users. So self-sovereign identity is going to require and provides a persistent, globally unique identifier, long-lived, non-reusable, and owned. In other words, because we're using Hyperledger Indy and Hyperledger Aries and the decentralized identifier, a W3C spec, we're able to provide identity that is pervasive. Peer-to-peer, not client-server. When you share credentials with users, you're only sharing it with that user, not with an institution. It's privacy-preserving. And most importantly, self-sovereign identity is the idea that the data should be portable and interoperable. And these are all possible by leveraging the blockchain and distributed ledger technology known as Hyperledger Indy and Hyperledger Aries, amongst others. The decentralized identifier, DID for short, has 4 important properties. It's persistent. That means that it never needs to go away. It will exist forever. 2, it's globally resolvable. That it means that the address itself can be resolved. It might need some help, but it will resolve automatically. Cryptographically verifiable, the idea that 2 people or a credential itself can be verified to belong to somebody. Now, typically, when you have a verifiable, cryptographically something is verifiable. That means that people that are verifying a credential can verify that it belongs and is assigned to the right people. And so that's what this diagram here is showing. It's showing that a DID, a decentralized identifier, has a subject, a controller. There's a DID document, which is the mechanism that we use here in the Gode ecosystem in order for us to leverage privacy by design. Decentralized cloud storage is answering the question, where is the data stored? Well, it's going to be stored in decentralized storage. Well, what is the data that's going to be stored? It's personally identifiable information. It's all the data that we have. And we're using storage and we'll be using Filecoin. Right now we're using storage. I've used storage for a couple years, and they have a very high download speed, 24 gigabits a second, and their availability is 99.95%. So the Gode quality of service requirement is met. And then here is the how. And these are leveraging the W3C decentralized identifier, and here is our DID document. So the privacy layer and personal data stores are the two contributions that are placing GODE at the forefront of Web 3.0 readiness. Because in order to be ready, you know, when someone says the ready, even tennis, there's a ready position. They don't call it the waiting position, they call it the ready position. The ready position means that you're ready. In order for us to be ready for Web 3.0, we have to provide a new infrastructure, secured, that provides users identity services. We know who you are, we can authorize you, we store your data on decentralized storage where you can own it, and we take care of other things like key management, and of course user experience is always the most important thing. So from the zero knowledge proof perspective, all I want to say about this is that there's a provider and a verifier, and we have to provide information that in our ecosystem, in the GODECHAIN ecosystem, will be stored in the user decentralized space. We will go in and they will share that information, and then on behalf of them, this protocol will be able to authorize. In English, even though I'm in English, less technical, what we're doing is we're leveraging information assets that are attestations, provable facts of information that can be proved by machine, and we are integrating it into an authorization service that will allow us to provide different permissions for users in our ecosystem. And the roadmap for GODE contains 3 projects. One is zero knowledge authentication. In this setup, we will authenticate a user or an entity with a service without a password or reliance on a third party. So leveraging any of a verifiable credential or attestation for authentication is an example, and this will in fact be implemented in a pilot that I'll be talking about shortly. The second project, longer term, is zero knowledge signaling. The idea is to provide a signal to a service that is verifiable and anonymous. Now, a signal is a way of saying that you have a decision made by somebody, but you don't want that decision to be identified, nor the user who made that decision. So, for example, membership in a group verifiably. You know, I'm in a secret society. As an investor, you will be in the society, in the group of membership of people who are putting their trust and their enthusiasm and passion into GODECHAIN. 2, answering a poll verifiably or anonymously. Voting. Answering a poll. Right now in the United States, I'm embarrassed to say, and this is quite literally happening now at 4:47 p.m. Eastern Time, we don't have a Speaker of the House because democracy is at work, and a lot of voting and answering of a poll is happening over and over again. 418 people, and you need to get 218 people to vote. In this case, the voting is being spoken. Peiper, ding, right, out loud, and people say what their votes are. There might be a situation where we want to use zero knowledge signaling. We want to be able to vote, but without having to let people know what we actually voted, but that it should be authentic. And the last zero knowledge proof project in the roadmap is zero knowledge for machine learning. The idea that artificial intelligence and machine learning are verifiable and trustworthy in what their pipelines are trying to do. And Amir is going to speak about the Bayes decentralized computation protocol, so I'm going to move on and just show you the overview of this ecosystem. And the idea of the GODECHAIN ecosystem onboarding is that when people come into the system, entities that are individuals will register, and we will have to perform a validation and a verification. We will perform a verification on their government issued identity document, and we'll run validation schemes on the document that they provide to make sure that it's not fraudulent. And we'll do the same thing for entities on the right-hand side that represent organizations who might want to onboard 100,000 people onto the ecosystem. The idea here is that once people are in the ecosystem, we use this privacy layer, which is going to be a way that we communicate, we transport data from the user's repository where they're storing their own data into an ecosystem that can be used. Here's an example. So we are considering a 2023 GODE potential pilot, decentralized application. Those are the services that the hackathons will be built for. We have one in March. The idea that we want to build an application which leverages the services provided by GODE. And so DataEarn is a company that, as we're showing here, there are 32 different social network services where data is being stored centralized. That's Web 2.0. And so in our Web 3.0, we're looking for use cases that can leverage not just the decentralized cloud storage, not just the authentication, but the zero knowledge part, the part that Adam Luciano brings to the table, the part that together with identity, decentralized storage, and computation space where we can securely process data, that becomes an ecosystem that is second to none. In this case here, the company now has a large number of users, apparently 20% of the total data access. In other words, users are asking companies like Facebook. Here's one example. I've highlighted just a Facebook example here. And what we have here is this company walks you through the process of seamlessly, so it's very easy to do, provides us with an ability to request our data from Facebook and to export the data. Given the General Data Protection GDPR Act of 2018 May in the EU, it has set the gold standard for data privacy regulation, data privatization regulation, data privacy, on how we store data. And so Web 3.0 is such a huge change to the ecosystem of data storage and software development lifecycle processes that a new ecosystem is required where users can own and control their data. And so as soon as you remove yourself from a siloed single company and you're becoming more of a decentralized organization, the most important point you can think about is the ability to be compatible, to collaborate with other institutions, other applications. So all of the decentralized apps that come into our GODE ecosystem, they will be able to leverage all that. In addition to, we are chain agnostic, and so there are other things and other chains that we can interact with. But we're just trying to show you the first 2 years of this pilot. And so 2023, we are going to have a decentralized app that takes data from the Web 2.0 providers, Google, Facebook, Meta, all these applications, Uber, and brings it into the user's control and data storage in GODE. And so it looks like this. At the end of the day, our personal data store can store all of the data that is being exported by the social Web 2.0 network services. And so you have a credential wallet, and in our ecosystem, we are able then to store data in our GODE ecosystem, and the users can now control it. And so by building decentralized apps, companies will be able to take advantage of a Web 3.0 ready ecosystem. That is to say, we're going to provide the authentication and the storage and the zero knowledge protocol and the compute to provide what Web 3.0 was really meant to be. Because let me tell you something really interesting. The internet, when it was invented, was supposed to be Web 3.0. Not 1, not 2, but 3. Thank you very much, and God bless. I hope to see you soon.